This vehicle's service part comes as a complete uniside. To begin the installation process, we'll need to cut the service part at the locations provided by the vehicle maker. The rough cut location is measured on the vehicle and marked on the service part. The final sectioning location is marked on the service part, keeping several inches above the rough cut marks. This will leave us enough room for our lap and scribe. The service procedure shows the final sectioning location for the B-pillar just below this notch. However, 3/4 of an inch below the notch is this spot weld. We'll want to make our mark just above that area. A mark is made 1/2 inch below the notch, and tape is applied for the sectioning location. For the rocker panel sectioning location, the service procedure shows being 1 inch forward of this tab. When we check the location 1 inch in front of this tab and follow that line around the rocker panel to the bottom of the part, we see that there's a hole in this location. The vehicle maker recommends to not section through holes, so we'll go 1 inch in front of it for our sectioning location. Tape is applied at the marked location on the rocker panel. We are now ready to cut the part. Now that the sectioning locations are cut into our replacement part, we can place it on the vehicle to make our scribe marks. The sectioning locations are then scribed at the C-pillar, B-pillar, and rocker panel. Spot welds are removed in the areas that will be discarded. We're going to also remove the spot weld located here that's on the inside of the C-pillar just above our sectioning joint. By removing this spot weld, it will allow us to slide in our backer for the butt joint with backing. The cut is made on the scribed line at the C-pillar. Steel coupons are used to protect the reinforcements and flanged areas. The scribe line is then cut at the B-pillar location, again using steel coupons to protect the reinforcements. The same is done at the rocker panel location. The replacement panel is dry fit on the vehicle. Root gaps along the sectioning joints are all checked. Locations are marked for replacement spot welds as well as replacement plug welds. They will be replaced 1 to 1, 1/4 inch away from the original weld location. Where necessary, the new spot weld locations are also marked on the inside part of the vehicle. The panel is then removed. Plug weld holes are marked with an X. Now we have to prepare the service part and the vehicle for bonding, weld bonding, and GMA MIG plug welding. The 8mm plug weld holes are punched. Where the punch cannot access, the holes are drilled. The wheel well area on the vehicle and replacement part are prepped for bonding. The outer flange of the service part and inner flange of the vehicle is prepped for spot welds. The mating flanges on both parts are prepped for adhesive. These areas will be weld bonded. Coatings are removed on the service part and the rear of the vehicle where plug welds will be made. If necessary, flanges are straightened. Now that all the flanges are prepped on both the service part and the vehicle, we can begin making our backings for our weld joints. The backings will be made out of leftover pieces from the service part for the C-pillar, B-pillar, and rocker panel. A cut line is marked to create a 50mm wide backing at each of the sectioning joints. Each backing is then cut from the remaining portion of the replacement part. Now that our backings are cut, we'll need to remove the flanges from them, as the flange on the vehicle will act as our backing in this area. Foam is removed in the C-pillar sectioning joint area to allow for test fitting the backing. The remaining backings are also test fit. The coatings are removed in the weld zones of the sectioning locations on the vehicle, including the back sides. In some areas, this may be difficult. Coatings are also removed on the mating surfaces of the backings. Weld zones on the section joints of the replacement part should also be cleaned of coatings on the front and back side. Sound deadening materials are installed on the replacement part in the appropriate locations. Next, the prepared backings are clamped in place and then tack welded to the vehicle. The replacement panel is test fit and the joint fit up is carefully checked. The replacement panel is then removed, and a test spot weld is made using identical coupons and adhesive matching what will be done on the vehicle. Now, adhesive is applied to the prepared areas on the replacement part. The bead is then spread out to cover all bare metal areas. The same is done on the areas that will be adhesively bonded and weld bonded on the vehicle. An additional bead of adhesive is applied to the replacement part to ensure proper bond line thickness when the part is installed. Next, with the aid of an assistant, the replacement part is installed and clamped on the vehicle. Adjustments must only be made by sliding the panel, as lifting will create air bubbles and weaken the bond. Then, all squeeze out is removed from the bond areas, and spot welds are made prior to the adhesive curing. After the adhesive cures, all of the MIG plug welds are made. Now, the butt weld with backing is made at the C-pillar sectioning joint, using the skip stitch technique to avoid warping the panel. The same is done at the B-pillar sectioning location and the rocker sectioning location. Now that welding is done, we can complete the repair by dressing any welds, taking caution not to thin the base metal. Any bodywork can then be done. We'll also need to corrosion protect all of the weld areas.